A store-bought apple pie for $3.50? Should you even bother? We're gonna find out today. Hi everyone, Mike here with Mike's Dessert Decision, your source for store-bought dessert reviews. Today we're looking at apple pies, particularly the Great Value apple pie, which is a Walmart store brand of apple pie. It comes in the freezer section. It's only $3.50, so I'm a bit concerned as to how good the quality will be, but it looks decent on the cover of the box, so I mean that's not always an indicator of what's inside the box, but we're gonna find out if it's really worth your money at all. Now, before we get into looking at and tasting the Great Value apple pie, let's go over how we score our desserts here on Mike's Dessert Decision. Desserts are scored on a scale of 0 to 30, and in the case of apple pies, we score them on 3 criteria. We have appearance, crust, and filling. And each criteria has a scale of 0 to 10. And then you combine that score to get your total score for the pie. All right, let's have a look at this Great Value apple pie. It's a smallish pie. It comes in at 2 pounds, 2 ounces, but as I said in the intro, it's only $3.50, give or take, at your local Walmart. So it's a good value, assuming it actually tastes good. We're gonna find out. First, we're gonna see how this pie looks and score it on appearance. So if you look at the pie, if you look at the whole pie, it is not impressive. It's got a singular hole right in the middle of the crust. It looks very mass-produced and manufactured, is what it looks like to me. And when you cut a slice out, it increases the quality of the appearance to some degree. It still looks pretty lackluster, should we say. You wouldn't be able to pass this off as a homemade pie, I don't think. Unless somebody just gave it a quick glance, I don't think you're fooling anybody into thinking this is a homemade pie, even with just the slice. When I reviewed the Mrs. Smith's pie, I said the whole pie didn't look homemade, but that you might be able to pass a slice off individually as homemade. With this, I don't think you're fooling anybody either way. So based on that, I would give this a 2 out of 10 on appearance. Alright, so the appearance wasn't anything too exciting, but now let's have a taste of the crust. We're going to score the crust next and see how that turns out. So I'm just going to take only crust as best I can and give that a taste. Take some off this end part, get a little more better idea. Try not to destroy it too bad. One more bite. Okay. Interestingly enough, I find the crust to be pretty decent, based on what I was expecting. I mean, let's be clear here. I'm not saying it's good based on a homemade delicious buttery crust that you could make yourself. But based on what I was expecting for $3.50 at Walmart, it's actually pretty good, I have to say. So given that, I'm going to give the crust a 4 out of 10. Alright, so the crust was better than I was expecting. And the appearance was about on par what I would have expected. So let's give a taste of the whole pie and judge the filling. We're going to get some crust and some filling and see how this one turns out. One more bite. Cleanse the palate with some milk. Okay, let's talk about this filling. It's not that good. It's got much like, well, and even more so I would say than the Mrs. Smith's, it's got much of this goop, as I call it. And it's sweet, and it's has a strong cinnamon flavor, which in and of itself is not a terrible thing. However, you introduce an apple into the equation. Here's an apple. There's not a ton of apples in this pie. The apple is not flavorful. It's not very fresh tasting, and the texture is unappealing. It's kind of a mixture of mushy on the outside and then too crisp in the center, like too undercooked in the center. So not a great combination. The filling is not knocking my socks off by any stretch. In fact, the filling might be a touch worse than I was expecting. And based on those observations, I'm going to give this filling a 2 out of 10. So for a final score of 8 out of 30 on the Great Value apple pie, it's not very impressive overall. However, when you compare it to the Mrs. Smith's apple pie that I recently reviewed, it's got a couple things going for it. Mainly the price, it's cheaper. And secondly, the crust. The crust is actually, I prefer the crust on this pie to the Mrs. Smith's pie. However, when it comes to the appearance and the filling, it falls pretty flat. I mean, it's not very good. So would I buy this pie? I might. I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the crust, and the appearance isn't terribly important unless you're serving it to guests or something like that. But the filling is a little disappointing. The consistency and texture of the apples, along with the excessive goop, gives this pie a pretty unappealing stance to me. Given that, I don't think I would buy another one of these. To me, it's worth it to spend a little bit more money and get a better quality pie. But if you're on a budget and you really want an apple pie, I don't think you're gonna go wrong. Just go in knowing, you know, what to expect. And if you just want a good crust and maybe you like the stronger cinnamon flavor, that's certainly a way to go. Final score, 8 out of 30 on the Great Value traditional apple pie. All right, so that's the Great Value apple pie. However, if you're wanting the best possible pie, I suggest you make your own pie. And if you're going to do that, you might as well do it right. And that means making a huge apple pie in the best pie plate you can find. So if you check out the link to the pie plate that I use in the description below, I think you'll be very happy with your purchase. Thanks for watching another dessert review with Mike's Dessert Decision. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button and hit that little bell. That'll notify you when I have a new video. And hit the like button if you liked it. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll see you with the next dessert review. Let's face it, at the end of the day, I'm eating pie, so I'm not complaining too much no matter what.